Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
Good.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything OThe Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/OTheAnthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/OTheAnthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheek.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at OThe Anthem on all your social networks before the convention, or pull the Nixon and just dump them right after you inaugurate. Ask them to step down and bring somebody else in.
Yeah, you could do it that way.
Yeah. But then you got to get the Senate to confirm him.
Yeah. Good luck. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Oh.
I know. I ruined it for you.
Hurts.
I ruined it for you. You were thinking about how you get a Democratic Senate, and then I ruined it for you. How does it feel? Wonderful. Great. All right. So
Get back to the deep stakes.
We wanted to touch on this because we were hoping that we would actually be able to say, Biden picked somebody today, but that's not how it works. So instead, what we're doing is our one final run at this, hopefully, where the running mate power rankings have basically been brought down to 5 names. Missing on this list is Elizabeth Warren, which was my top choice a couple weeks ago when we first talked about this. But basically where we sit right now is Karen Bass at 5, Tammy Duckworth at 4, fucking Gretchen Whitmer at 3. I was like, what is her fucking first name? Susan Rice at 2, and Kamala Harris at 1. So Kamala seems to be the chosen one at this point. Like every list I see, like basically says like, well, if it's not Kamala Harris, it'll probably, like.
Yeah, apparently
there's a lot of like assumptions that she's in the pole position at the moment.
She apparently has made a very public trip to Delaware, but she also may have made another private trip to Delaware.
Yeah.
And apparently there have been meetings both in D.C. and in California with members of the his committee to pick someone.
And I mean, most of, like what is that the seriousness of a candidate is going to depend on whether or not Joe actually wants to like meet them in person.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't get to the point where you actually get to meet the candidate, then you're not that serious of a choice, I would say. So, I mean, that adds some to, like we've heard about Harris meeting. We've heard about Whitmer meeting. I think there's been conversations with Bass, but I don't know if there's ever been a face-to-face.
So again, she had a meeting with the committee.
Yeah,
and I can't remember the name of the guy who is heading the committee.
But I mean, if you're in D.C., it's not that hard to sneak away to Delaware. So
yeah. I mean, Joe did it every single day.
Yeah.
So, and not sneak away. He rode the train home to Delaware every single day. Sorry, but I think
snuck away on the Excella.
The interesting,
like a snake in the night.
Is that the Trump, not satisfied with ruining the country as much as he has thus far, has now decided to wade into the movie industry.
Yeah.
And you may disagree with me, but I don't think that this. The SEC, no. Who is it that's doing this? It's an administration. One of the administration.
I don't remember offhand.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Whoever it is saying that they are.
I think it's with the Justice Department.
It could be Justice. Yeah, it's a consent decree with the Justice Department. Is saying that they are about to roll back the consent decrees that were entered into pursuant to US v. Paramount, which, quick reminder for everybody, is the decision that basically told studios you can't have a monopoly on everything. You can't make the movies and showcase the movies in your own theaters, and absent that, you also can't force a different theater to buy a big block of your films.
I mean, essentially what was happening was all the studios owned theaters, and like you would see Disney movies at the El Capitan kind of thing.
Actually, Disney not party to that consent decree.
Well, they are, but
now they are.
No, they always were.
No, they were not considered one of the major theaters then. I'm telling you, I read the case.
Okay.
In 34, they were not considered it, which is why, by the way.
It was 48.
48. In 48,
Yeah.
they weren't considered it. And that's why they got to keep El Capitan, because they owned the theater, and then they joined and actually bought an entire...
I think there was a thing in the original judgment, though, that you were allowed to own, like, single sort of spots. You just weren't allowed to own a... Because, I mean, like, there was, like, a Paramount theater in Times Square.
Yeah.
And Paramount would have hypothetically been able to keep that theater.
Yes.
But
Except
they just
for
wouldn't have been
it's a
able to own, like, a chain. Like,
so what happened is
Yeah.
that Disney got big enough that they bought a small chain of theaters, and then the Justice Department was like, oh, hey, this applies to you now.
Yeah.
So either we're going to sue you or you can agree to join and divest yourself. And then they did, but they kept El Capitan. So,
I mean, basically, what it did was when I tweeted about it earlier, there's only been a couple times in movies where there's sort of been like one specific incident that became like a paradigm shift for the industry, and the first one was sound. When sound got into movies, like everything changed from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
And all the stars that used to be fell off considerably, and it became like an entirely new industry almost overnight. The moment was US v. Paramount, because it changed how the movie business could operate, because they weren't allowed to own every part of the production chain anymore. Mm-hmm.
Followed many years later by the Friends decision.
Well, that one wasn't like a paradigm shift, but it was different. That one was weird to explain.
Yes.
Like that's a like yes, saying awful things about actors in the room is part of the creative process. Mm-hmm. Like it has been decided.
Yeah. This is a really horrible line of questioning. Why would we want to put this in our show? Schwimmer's terrible. Let Schwimmer do it. Like, okay, we'll just write this in for Schwimmer.
But yes, so they're discussing dropping basically the decision that came from US v. Paramount, arguing that the movie industry is different than it was before.
Right.
But I argue that this might be more evidence that we need it more now than ever, because every single one of these streaming services is built off of the property that we own and are able to get the rights back for. I mean, like, the idea of, Warner Brothers was the studio who made all these, like The Office and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T, which has HBO Max. So we get The Office coming back to the Warner Brothers owned thing.
Yeah.
So it's Warner Brothers company owning a Warner Brothers distributed product on a Warner Brothers streaming network. We're basically doing the same exact thing, only in a different way. But they're arguing that because now it's all digital, it's not quite the same thing.
Right.
And now, as a consumer, you're going to have to buy 15 different things because there's no, like, real free market of the ability to find the show. Like,
this is in effect, and you are already...
This week on the Oh the Anthem podcast, we start with a mea culpa, and then we break into the end of the Paramount decrees and what that means for the future of Hollywood and for your considerations. In the news, the Veep Stakes is officially over, and it's Kamala Harris who will be vice president to Joe Biden's president if it happens that way. We also talk about the battle over the United States Postal Service, how much that stimulus check actually means to you, and a whole lot more about Trump's craziness, including some new coronavirus treatment brought to the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell. You don't want to miss a second of this. It's coming at you quick right now on the O the Anthem podcast. Who wants to go anywhere? Me. This is Corey, and this is the O the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 332 of the O the Anthem podcast. I have a quote for you today, too. Some men are meant to go to Mars. Some are meant to stay at home, even from the grocery store. It's that baseball. Thank you for joining us. We are coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcast of choice. The easiest, the best way to do it, anchor.fm/O the Anthem. You listen on Apple, go there, find it on Apple. You listen on Spotify, go there, you find it on Spotify. It's the easiest way to get to the podcasting glory that you wish. It's at anchor.fm/O the Anthem.
Yep, and of course you can find us during the week on all your social media at O the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the videos, both the episodes and everything else is available on YouTube. You can also find both Corey and I on our personal stuff, and I want to welcome friend of the show Roberto to the wonderful world of TikTok. Now, I did have to set it up for him, but much like a good father anywhere in the world, I was happy to do so. I basically have to hold his hand through all of this stuff in the world, so I was happy to.
I can't imagine the good father of daughters are setting up their TikToks for them, but I mean,
that depends. I, as a father of daughters, would not want to do that, but I, as a teenage boy who was hated mainly by fathers of daughters, yeah, sure.
I bet Kellyanne Conway is really upset about setting up her daughter's TikTok account now.
Probably so. Probably not real happy about it. And I was going to say, speaking of Roberto, let's jump into that 4-year consideration splat. Oh, wait, that's right.
Hold on. First off, I wanted to start somewhere else real quick.
Oh, all right, that's right.
So last week, we talked about the NRA, and we talked about their marketing company, which is sort of funding everything that's going on. And me, like a big dum-dum, because I have ADHD and sometimes I get the wrong thing stuck in my head and I keep saying it out loud over and over again, said Alexander McQueen every single time instead of Ackerman McQueen, which is the actual name of the agency. And you could tell that I realized I was doing something wrong because somewhere during our conversation, I postulated, I was just like, isn't there a fashion brand called Alexander McQueen? And I was like, no, it can't be.
But yes, there is.
Yes, there is, because in my brain, I said to myself, don't ever say Alexander McQueen. It was the same thing that people used to do with when Barack Obama came on the scene. It's like, yeah. Don't call him Osama. Don't call him Osama. Don't call him Osama. Just because it was so close, and you would talk about the two in conversations. Yeah. Like, is Obama ever going to catch Osama? Yeah. You would not want to, change that around.
Interspersing that is a whole different conversation.
But I feel like this is important, not just because I think it's important that people apologize when they get things wrong, but I think that if we are positioning ourselves in a place where we're calling balls or strikes to an extent, yeah, that we also owe it to people when we do wrong. Mm-hmm. And I don't want people to think that that just went up. It wasn't aware to me. It was like one of those, as soon as we got done recording and then I was editing it and I was just like, fuck, I said Alexander McQueen. I hope I didn't do that again. And then
Yeah. And if I ever do make a mistake, I will be sure to come on and apologize about it. Do
I need to go combing through the archives?
I was reminded probably back around episode 100, I put out the call, much like Conan O'Brien had done around the time, which I think is my inspiration for that. That if you could find I was incorrect about anything that I argued, yeah, I would pay you $100. and we had nary a taker for that. So, I just assume I've never gotten anything wrong.
Well, we'll see. I'm excited for the comments on this episode. But yes, I in fact am a dum-dum from time to time, and I make mistakes, and would like to apologize to the good people at Alexander McQueen for implicating them
With the NRA?
I mean, I think at the very least throughout the entire episode we said allegedly. So.
Yes, yeah.
I
I just like to think somebody from there is listening and they're like, all right, so we only have a little bit of our marketing budget yet. How are we going to overcome this Anthem smear campaign that Corey Baker has put on us?
Well, I mean, all the top celebrities have already gathered behind us and said we're not supporting Alexander McQueen anymore. So I mean, I feel like we've already done some damage, but hopefully this will make up for it. You know,
yes.
Like you can get all the bigwigs back in under the stable now.
Also,
Now that we know that Alexander McQueen's not canceled.
Unlike the NRA, we have no money for clothes, and Corey has become a bit of an aficionado recently. So if you'd like to send clothes our way,
if the apology did it for you,
our message can become very positive.
I wear a 17 and a half, and
all right,
I don't know if you cut slim, but I mean, like, I'm a little bit more of an ample gentleman, so perhaps if you have something in the big boy collection, then not just like you have a section of big boy, just like if you have like an Alexander McQueen that happens inside of like a Bob's Big Boy.
Yeah, you'd really like that one. Yeah, I was gonna say Corey's got some weird dimensions, but if you're working on a Husky Juniors line, he'd be the perfect model for that.
If you're looking for short and fat, which is exactly what every single fashion brand is looking for, then right here, I will happily an apology don one of your fine fabrics.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we will become very pro Alexander McQueen very quickly. You'll see me wearing a black Alexander McQueen T-shirt, which costs about as much as every T-shirt that I currently own. Probably, I can only imagine.
All put together?
All put together, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I own 10 black T-shirts at this point.
I imagine it's more. I imagine you're underselling the...
Well, listen, I got 10 work
I mean, it's a very reputable brand up until the moment that we slandered it last week, so...
I have 10 black work T-shirts.
Yeah.
I have 5 or 6 black at-home T-shirts, but I wouldn't really wear them out.
Yeah.
I have 2 or 3 gym black
T-shirts. I was
T-shirts.
just wearing my wearing around the house Oriole shirt. It's a little tattered. It's not quite...
The difference is mine are all just solid black. Only I know the difference between the work shirts. And when they're hung incorrectly in the closet, it causes me pain because I pick out my work side and I'm like, this is clearly not a work shirt. This is a around the house shirt.
Can you tell by the shade of black that this is a house shirt?
It actually does have something to do with the shade.
I'm sure it does.
How many times?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
How black it is. All right.
But yes, for your consideration, let's get into it.
Well, let me get that splash together. Hang on one sec, Corey. Let me grab that splash.
Roberto, do you want to do it live? Is that possible?
Well, I know. He's deep in the world of Red Dead Redemption. And when I say that, what I mean is he's watching videos on YouTube and then doing what they do, which is apparently how millennials play video games. Who knew? I told him he should put that on his new TikTok account, but there's already a TikTok account that he's watching to get the clues how to play, and I don't feel like
he doesn't want to take their content wholesale and just put it out.
It's too meta. It's watch me play Red Dead while watching a TikTok watching them play Red Dead. It's just too much. It's too much. So, but yeah, there's one really big story this week for your consideration, and that is, of course, the undoing of Hollywood, essentially. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's certainly a important day. I think we can say that with some positive, or with some certainty, because the Paramount decree was something we discussed a couple weeks back. I reposted a bit of it in the pre-show, if you caught that. But it was
I interrupt a couple of weeks. Episode 293 would have been 30 episodes ago, which is about this time last year. So.
Yeah, time has no meaning. It's all an illusion. In my mind, you know, like much like, you know, like Trump going on Fox and saying like, you know, I'm trying to stop the mail, which felt like it happened a year and a half ago. Like, I don't know when things happen. I'm speculating. But yes, that happened about half a year ago. We first started talking about how this was in the works. And now it's official. A judge has overturned the Paramount decrees, and we are in this brave new world where the studios can now not only make the product, but own the means to distribute the product. And we don't know exactly what that means yet, but what it eventually will probably mean is that Disney, Universal, other brands like this, Netflix has already sort of done this with the Egyptian in Hollywood and the Paris in New York, are going to buy theaters to make them part of the extended universe of how you can enjoy a Disney film or a Universal film or a Netflix film. And it's probably going to change the ways in which we go to the movies. To me, that's the biggest thing. Is that so there was already an article that came out this week about Alamo Drafthouse, and I've heard similar things with like Regal and AMC in different parts of the country, where you can basically reserve a whole theater for yourself and, up to 10 people or something like that for a very low cost. Basically, the price of 10 tickets.
You have to buy them up front. If your friends don't show up on you, well, you're stuck with the bag.
I mean, listen, there's some times where I would consider paying $150 just to have the empty theater all by myself. Not to.
I was going to say, this is what we call the Corey package, where it's like affordable for the whole theater. I'll do it. It's fine. Yes, I'll do it.
When it's not Corona anymore, it's like $1,000, and I'm just like, well, I really want to see Tenet. So,
like Corey shows up, and they're like, "All right, sir, we have you here. Where's the rest of your party?" He's like, "No, nope, just me,
just me."
You reserved enough.
You reserved it for your birthday? It's like, yep. Just me.
This is how I out myself.
This is everyone else is having a party back at home. I'm here.
We've got chicken fingers for 10. Won't be a problem. Just keep them coming. It's fine.
You have the honey mustard, correct? I specifically asked for honey mustard. I
specifically asked for honey mustard.
What I don't imagine we'll see, unless things go really sideways for the distribution or from the theater companies, is we probably will not see Disney buy AMC whole cloth or like Universal buy Regal or anything like that. What I imagine we'll see more of is single theaters being purchased here and there around the country. So take for instance, like there's a AMC in Universal City Walk here in LA. That one seems like a prime target to be sold to Universal.
Yeah.
To be a Universal theater. And I mean, like right now as it is, it says like Universal City Walk on the outside of the theater.
Is that Universal City
Walk? Small little
AMC
branded.
Theater, yeah. And downtown Disney has an AMC theater, both in LA and Orlando. Again, that's a prime, like buy that, and then it can be your branded theater.
Right.
And there are 3 AMCs within walking distance of each other in Burbank. And it feels like they're also very near the Warner Brothers lot, the Sony, or maybe the Fox lot. No, it's Disney lot now. Yeah. It was the Fox lot. And that seems
Fox was on West Side.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's the Sony lot. Sony and Warner Brothers are in Burbank. Yeah.
Disney and Warner Brothers.
Okay. Disney and Warner Brothers. It just seems prime that you could go to them and be like, hey, we got 3 properties here. Would you like 8 screens? 12, 16? I got 3. What would you like? And then you just keep the other 2 and operate the other 2. But you made an interesting point in the discussion before the show, which was essentially just they're going to have to learn how to run lean, especially when we reopen, for a while.
Yeah.
They use debt service to make the theaters how we like them now, with recliners and the separate seats and everything. And we weren't expecting this. And now selling off prime property like the downtown Disney AMC theater, which, by the way, you could probably name your price and Disney would just be like, we want it. Yeah. What is it going to take for us to get this? You could fund, a portion of your Florida operations with what you're going to sell that theater for. And then, all right. So
so why I wouldn't imagine that happens right away because there's a, Disney is not doing fantastic money-wise. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've made several $1 billion this quarter, but they didn't make as many billions of dollars as they thought they were this quarter.
It's the reason Avengers and not Avengers, the DC version.
Justice League
was a flop. Made $1.3 billion, but it's a flop because they spent nearly $1 billion promoting it and making it. So it made $300 million, and you're like, yeah, it's 300. No, we were expecting $4 billion.
We needed this to be 3 Fast and the Furious movies put together. So you failed. What high stakes.
We were talking about Shonda Rhimes the other day and how it's just like, I'm 1 loss away from being out of this town. For executives, you might actually do that. You make a big bet, $1 billion bet, and
Well, I mean, like, look at Josh Trank. Like, you know, and not to criticize him or anything like that, but you know, he certainly had everything in front of him, and then he sort of blew it, and now it's just like, who? So,
but I don't think Shonda would come out and be like, "This movie's a piece of garbage. You shouldn't go see it."
This television show I worked on with ABC is fucking awful.
You should not go. You should not watch it. Avoid it at all costs. Yeah, that's what I would call like maybe the Corey Baker method. I almost can imagine you being questioned by the studio so much that you just go out and say, I don't support this movie. This is nothing of my artistic vision.
Much like everything in Hollywood, I think of it in entourage terms, and I think of when Queens Boulevard was being sold and they did the like colorization.
Yeah,
and it's just like the fuck capitalism.
I was gonna say, what is the director's name from Entourage?
Billy Walsh.
That is you, 100%. Meanwhile,
seeing the poster being like, oh, they're fucking ruining it.
I sell a movie, and then the Hollywood Reporter will read, Robert Cheek unavailable for comment because I'm going to be counting dollar bills on a beach somewhere, very warm and very private. So
you're going to be counting all 20,000 of your bills from the Redbox movie.
Absolutely. Listen, I can live poor. You have no idea. It's the Matrix, right? We've calculated there are levels of survival we are willing to accept. That is absolutely me. Buy my movie, Redbox.
So, one thing that I am very worried about, though, with the Paramount decree coming up here is that I'm concerned that the sort of age of synergy that we were going through before in like the 80s to 90s, Rob's laughing because he heard me butcher that word 18 different ways before we started.
You mean the synergization?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you. It led to a lot of movies that were all kind of like, we can't make just one of them. Everything's got to be sequels. Everything's got to be a property. Obviously, that ideal hasn't gone away. But in a almost reaction to that, we got sort of the rise of the independent movie and the independent theater and the backyard indie and everything like that. And it was able to propel huge voices that are important filmmakers in this day and age to the forefront in a way that Hollywood never had an opportunity to do before. And
we would never have a Jay and Silent Bob reboot
without
this period.
We wouldn't have a Quentin Tarantino without this period, or a Spike Lee perhaps without this period. But you know, like we can debate how much we needed. Listen, I love Kev, but I'm saying like we could debate how much we needed Jay and Silent Bob.
Listen, somebody at some point's got to tell you, Quentin, cut it down. It doesn't need to be 3 hours. And somebody needs to tell Kev, hire somebody who's not a friend of yours for a movie, honestly. Let's do it.
Why can't this movie be Jay and Silent Bob? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, like, this Leo, this Brad Pitt, I think people are a little bit tired of it. Why isn't Jay and Silent Bob in this movie?
I feel like there's some good synergy here if we just bring you and Kev together. He'll write it, you direct it. You pick everybody starring.
Kevin Smith just like hitting Jay Muse, going like, now, don't snoochie boochies in front of the Mexicans. What?
I don't know why that just hit me. It tickled something inside me. I just can't explain it. I don't know. Oh my god.
Anywho,
the memes to come out of that. I'm just thinking, you know. I'm seeing the Leo meme from Django everywhere right now. I don't know why. I'm just imagining that
Trump
moment.
era.
I'm imagining that moment.
Right. You need a minute. So here's the thing. Hold on, let me mute out Rob so you can. The thing about this is I worry a lot about where the next generation of filmmakers is coming from here, because right now the desire is to have a property and own it and to never let it go. So, you know, for instance, Netflix gets BoJack Horseman, and they own that forever, and they never have to worry about paying for any kind of licenses or anything like that to keep airing it. They don't have to worry about it becoming a bidding war like, you know, the Friends back catalog or The Office or The West Wing or any of these other shows that in the olden days would have been a a cash cow for syndication.
But ABC kicking itself because it didn't air The Office. ABC Studios shot it, and then it went to NBC to air, and then...
And I mean, like, you know, in the days of US v. Paramount, where the movie studios were concerned about overstepping, there was a lot of, we should produce things, and we can buy things, and we can buy the things that we produce, but, you know, if there's not a home for it in one of the Warner Brother properties for this specific show, then we'll sell it to somebody who it makes sense for. Like, now there's more of I hear more executives talking about, like, how their network isn't necessarily the thing that it used to be anymore. Like, you know, Oxygen isn't just the channel for women. It's a channel for any show that we can get that's really good. Like, Oxygen, maybe this isn't the great specific example, but, like, it's one of those, like, if Oxygen could get Breaking Bad right now, they'd figure out a way to make it work. Yeah. They'd just be like, you know, the 23 hours a day, most of the week, we have these great women content, but we also have Breaking Bad, so come see.
I also feel like somebody lean on Vince and be like, Vince, listen, female protagonist. What if it's a female teacher and a female who is Jesse Pinkman? And Jesse.
Can Skylar be the lead of this thing?
No, I just keep it exactly how it is. Yeah, Skylar is the teacher, and Jesse has an eye, and now you got a show for Oxygen, and we're right here.
There we are.
We're gonna fund it, and now it's empowering that a woman who can't afford her cancer treatment is gonna go make drugs.
I mean, isn't this basically Weeds now at this point?
Oh damn, we just designed Weeds. Well, you know.
There's no original ideas in Hollywood.
I reposted that picture from 3 years ago when we arrived here, I guess. No, it was when we came out to look at the apartments, I think. It's a garbage can with Hollywood on it. And Corey had posted it to Snapchat with like, this is it, whole district right here.
But right now, much like we discussed with, God damn it, the internet.
Netflix?
No.
Phones?
No, the end of... God damn it. We talked about it like every single week for fucking 6 months.
Internet...
Why can't I think of the name of the term I'm looking for? Fuck me. Anywho.
Internet freedom. It's the restrictions on the internet. That's what you're talking about? Yes. Yeah.
Net neutrality.
Yeah, there we go.
There it was. Grabbed it out of the recesses. Much like we discussed with net neutrality, once it was overturned, don't expect something to happen right away. Nothing has happened really since we talked about that. There have been a couple good things for consumers where like, oh, hey, you have Verizon, so you also get Apple Music for this long for free. Yeah. Or, you know, you have T-Mobile, so you get Netflix on us and all that sort of stuff, which is only looking good for the consumers right now.
Oh,
but it's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah. But it's going to take a little bit of time before the problems of this start to develop.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a similar thing with the Paramount decree where it's going to start with Disney buys 10 theaters and 10 big media markets, or Netflix buys another couple theaters. And it seems like, oh, we still have AMC, we still have Regal, we still have Cinemark. We also have this Disney theater in town now. We also have a Universal one in town. Yeah. It's the old AMC that we never went to, but now that it's a Disney theater, we're going.
Yeah.
You know, and there's it's going to feel very good for the consumer for a while. But I worry that there's a step like 5 to 10 years from now where we look back and say like, oh, when the Paramount decree was completely gone and we knew that it was no longer around, that's when things started changing here. And that's where we feel like we're not getting that influx of new voices that we used to. And I mean, like, it's not that we're not going to hire new people to have Netflix shows or anything like that. It's just that the barrier to get from unknown director, screenwriter, actor is going to be a lot more difficult because you're going to have to go through some sort of gatekeeper system, which is what has hurt Hollywood throughout the years in various different means.
And I think the eventuality of that also is that if you want to take your kids to watch a Disney film, eventually I can see it only being available at the Disney theater. And their argument will be not only that Paramount's decision is gone, or the Paramount decree is gone, but hey, we were going to send this straight to our Disney Plus platform, which you'd have to pay for anyway. Mm-hmm. But instead, we're going to release it in a theater where you can go have the theater experience on a movie you would never had a theater experience for.
But in one of the few theaters that is exempt from Paramount, USV Paramount, the El Capitan in Hollywood is a Disney theater. It only shows Disney movies.
Yeah.
And if you go there, they'll have big events like Beauty and the Beast opens this week, and it opens everywhere else. You could see it in any other theater across the country. But if you see it at the El Capitan, there's going to be a special Swarovski crystal light show beforehand, and there's outfits from the movie.
The costumes are out in the lobby.
Yeah, and like, you can buy special popcorn tins that have Beauty and the Beast on them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's all part of this. Once you step inside the doors of the building, you feel that warm embrace of Disney that you're used to.
Yeah.
Like what it feels like to be at a Disney property or a Disney store. Like, it has a very specific feel to it.
It's the park. You're going into a park, a mini version of the park.
And they're gonna try and extend the alchemy that is a business relationship between them and the consumer in different ways inside of a theater, which will sound, that part will probably be good for a while, but just it's going to hurt people who are trying to do something that's a little bit different, and do something that's a little bit off the beaten path. Independent movies, which are currently selling at Sundance right now, will still get bought by Netflix. Like, if you were Palm Springs, you're still getting bought.
Yeah, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix.
Somebody will get it. Yeah, but I mean, like, the concern is, like, if you don't get it, like, there's so much more. It adds more to the lottery ticket aspect of like trying to sell your movie now. Because what do you do if you're me? If I don't get my movie is in the can, I don't get the offers from Disney and Paramount and Universal and everywhere else. Like, it's just, it goes quiet. I could put it up on Apple and have people, buy it off Apple or stream it off Apple, or I could put it on Amazon and maybe get $100,000 if it's a really successful.
Put it on YouTube, run ads during it.
I mean, you could, but the chance of making back your investment are much lower at that point, because you don't even have the opportunity to necessarily have the same independent studios that are going to be able to compete in the same way. Yeah, it's going to make it harder for an A24 to compete with Disney when they have the option of pricing you out of the market, essentially. Like, if you're in a place that, if Bismarck only has 3 theaters and 2 of them are AMC and one of them is Disney, and the other one used to be a place where they play the Disney one used to be the independent theater in town. You're missing out on the independent movie. Like, they'll still survive. They'll still be in major media markets, but it just will not be as available.
Well, and I was going to say that the impact is less on us here in LA. It was honestly less than us in Baltimore, because the Charles will probably always be the Charles, and there'll always be a place to go. But Bismarck, maybe even Bismarck, because it's like a city-ish, but you might get to the point where you have to drive an hour and a half to Bismarck, because it's the only independent theater in North Dakota.
But I was in like Casper, Wyoming, right? Yeah. And there's one theater.
Yep.
And one theater for quite a while. So if you wanted to go see a movie and you live somewhere in the area of Casper, it's one theater with 4 screens. Yeah.
Yep.
So right now you're already limited to what are the 4 most important movies of the moment that will be playing at that Casper movie theater.
But if it's a Universal theater now,
it's the Universal movies, and then what do you do if Disney wants to play their movie and if you buy a 20-screen multiplex? Yeah, like Disney can't fill it with 20 Disney movies. Yep. I mean, they could, but it wouldn't be as successful as if they had Fast and the Furious on one of those screens.
Right.
So, like, what do you do then? Are you paying? Because right now we're going through the same thing with some of the streaming companies, because specifically Amazon and Roku are charging more for people like HBO Max and Peacock to have a channel on their platforms,
and they have their own content. So.
The reason why they're doing it is because they're the major player in the space, and if you can't pony up for the price that they're asking for, then you just don't get out to most Americans. Yeah. Like, I only have Roku, I only have Amazon. I could get it on my internet service and then Chromecast it to the screen, but that feels like, why would I do that? And that is I'm somebody who's connected. I know how to do all this stuff, and it's too much of a step for me.
My parents. Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm connected and I don't want to do it, then somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing is going to have no idea how to get to HBO Max, Yeah,
I'm going to have to go home and set up a button where when you push it, all those steps are run on IFTTT, so it all connects. Like, just push the big red button. That's how we're going to get it on. Pull it up on your computer and press the big red button, and then you'll be good to go. But I also said, we've seen this happen before. In the 80s, in our lifetime, in the 80s, Ma Bell was broken up, and the phone companies got broken up. And in 1990, there was probably 100 different phone companies. And of course, now home phone service is not the thing. But essentially, the first cell phone companies were also home phone companies. That's how it worked. Yeah. And we went from 100, maybe over 100 in 1990, right back to 3 now. now essentially you have T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T again, and Verizon.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I look at my bill every month, and I remember I pay a lot for my bill, but I also have truly unlimited, unfiltered. You can't slow me down. Everything's
the grandfather plan.
I can get unlimited texts, unlimited picture messages, unlimited data, and enough call minutes to generally get me through the month.
Yeah.
I go back to when I got that plan 20 years ago, which again was only 10 years after the breakup, and Verizon was trying to compete against a lot of people in the field.
Right.
And for $70, I want to say was the first bill. Unlimited data, because nobody was using it anyway. Yeah. I got unlimited.
What, are you going to open up the mobile NBA site, which was just a listing of the standings?
All the standings. I could go on Facebook on my phone, which I thought was amazing at the time, and nobody thought it was amazing. And now you're all on Facebook on your phone, so screw you. But I remember
when Twitter launched.
Yeah.
You could get onto it on your phone, but it was such a nightmare to wait for it to load.
Yep.
Because it took so long.
Well,
that
also,
when I was first tweeting, I was tweeting through text.
I was going to say, you couldn't tweet from the platform. You texted your tweet, and then it popped up in your account.
Yeah. And, to people who think Twitter is the new guard.
We've been around.
We know what it was like back then, texting 89423 and being like, boy, the Orioles sure suck today. It's just tweeting into the void.
By the way, going back to the day
pooping now
when you were putting it in first person on Twitter.
And no, on Facebook.
On Facebook,
every
too.
once in a while I get one of those
reminders?
you put this on Facebook 15 years ago, and it says it would always be Corey Baker, and then it was so I write some tweet is really upset right now at the moment, and I'm just what awful grammar, and then I'm just oh right,
first person
writing everything as Corey Baker is.
Yep. Anyway,
which was also a mistake on Facebook's part.
$70.
It's amazing they survived.
For $70, I had unlimited data, unlimited text, but more importantly, unlimited calling.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, which, again, you young kids don't understand. There was a time when it was call me after 9, and you hang up. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, because if it's less than 7 seconds, it doesn't even count as a call, so I just got to get on. Call me after 9. That's it. And come pick me up at the old collect call. You call your parents, pick me up at the mall. The new one was pick me up, we're ready to go. I'd hang up and try to keep it under 7 seconds, but that was $70. And now I pay over $100 for unlimited data, unlimited text, but very limited talk time. I also just don't talk very much, so that's good. And the price is way higher. And some of that's inflation, but some of that is there are 3 companies.
Yeah.
So go ahead, go to AT&T, because you're going to lose your truly unlimited and get their unlimited plan, and it'll be cheaper, kinda. But
well, I mean, the problem is, and this circles around to where we are with the Paramount decree too, which is that when you limit the number of choices that you have, you limit the amount of innovation that can occur in the space. So I mean, think about it just in terms of phones, in actuality, they'll say, you have a lot of choices in different, manufacturers and stuff like that. But, most of the market is Android. A smaller subset of the market is Apple. And then there are, little tiny outlier things. But there's 2 mobile operating systems.
Is still making phones, Corey.
I don't even think they are. I think they're done now.
It's
Are they doing one phone? One?
Yes, there is the BlackBerry. Because Andrew Cuomo has one.
Oh, okay.
And Roxy likes to bring that up all the time. See, he's got his BlackBerry. And I'm like, yes, he found the one BlackBerry that's available on the market.
Also has somebody who has an iPhone right next to him, so he can just be
tweet me.
Pull up YouTube. I want to see my face.
Oh, it's a smartphone. It just also has a keyboard. Old people.
I want some Rocky Milk.
But yeah, so we have not covered anything yet today, so let's move on.
Yeah, let's get on with it.
All right, first thing up in news is the Veep Stakes is over. We've been talking about it for a few weeks. You saw in the intro video there. I do also actually want to say real quick, we are really active in the chat today. So you can see the Discord link wherever you are. Come and join us in there. But you can also chat right in Facebook. It'll come into the Discord. We can chat back to you. We have Eric Moore is joining us, and Kenny from the DSUG podcast. Remember that, Corey? That was the thing that was happening. Joining us in the chat. You can join us too. Make sure you come in and be a part of that. And the Discord will be around, same channel forever. So just make sure you bookmark it, and then you can come and be a part of that there.
Yeah, talk anytime.
Kamala Harris is the choice. As we've talked about basically for the last 3 weeks, she was the odds favorite. Unfortunately, maybe not the person we want, but at the same time, as you're going to hear coming up this Friday, at some point you just have to hold your nose and vote for the one that makes sense.
I mean, so neither one of us were super excited about Kamala Harris coming in as the pick, but I will say this. Here, I think when in the lead up to a decision like this, the people you're hearing about the most, the quiet mouths don't get fed portion of the Democratic Party, who is arguing for anyone who isn't the person who is the front runner.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like the people who are trying to put out bad stories about Harris so that Gretchen Whitmer looks better or stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of horse racing going on, and I found that most Democratic voters, or most people who are out there like getting the news, like who aren't tied into some sort of political discussion all the time, we're generally excited about Kamala Harris. And I feel like, we shouldn't be short on the idea that it is a historic choice to have, a woman on the ticket.
Geraldine Ferraro, the last time.
A black woman, a Indian woman, like she has a lot of firsts that are accompanying this decision. And I, generally speaking, I find Kamala fine. I just don't like, it seems like there is a bomb getting ready to explode here with the, cause any story of criminal justice is only a matter of time before the next one happens.
Yep.
Like,
and a lot of old stuff tends to come out when you poke your head up. It's a tall poppy syndrome. So,
I'm not saying, everyone's allowed to evolve and everyone's allowed to be a better version of the person they were yesterday.
We certainly have.
Yeah. And, Joe, I'm sure, would say the same thing, because there's a lot of bad statements next to Joe Biden's name from when he was a senator, a congressman in the 70s or 80s, things that he would like to have back, and things I'm sure he doesn't believe now. But it's tough just because, as somebody who wants to not only just beat Trump, but actually make some sort of substantial change in this world, it does feel like there is the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, which is, get the fuck out of here. You're only here for your excitement. Like, get us the kids, and then we'll tell you to go fuck off and die. And then there's the party, the capital D Democratic Party.
Sure, yeah.
Which is been not run under stellar circumstances for the last generation here.
I would say every day we have people turning 18 who are moving the capital D Party closer and closer to that fringe.
Yeah.
They're moving it outward. So
and Joe Biden, as much as they want to paint Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as like these unhinged Antifa fighters, like King of Antifa.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is a very moderate Democrat, and Kamala Harris is a very left to the moderate scale of Democrats. Like, she is for sure further to the left than Biden is. She's done Green New Deal. She's been in favor of Medicare for all. There's a lot of very progressive things that she has actually put her name next to.
But she also didn't prosecute a single cop while she was a prosecutor. She said nothing about the racial reckoning that's happening in the country. She's not moving forward.
And you would think that, the problem is that, I think anyone who has any kind of aspiration to be a politician or a attorney's general or something like that should at some point say, I want to do this because there's something wrong with the way that we're doing it now. Like, nobody wins elected office by saying everything has been done great, and I just want to continue this long and storied record of the.
I don't know, because didn't Trump say that this week?
He did. He wasn't reading the room, but yes, he did. Oh man. I'm fine. I'm fine with the. I've been willing to bite my tongue on Biden. I've been willing to just be okay with Kamala Harris. This is, to be honest, this could have been a lot worse. I think
it could have been worse.
I'm fine with it. I'm just gonna hold their feet to the fire from day one. Like, just I want them to know that, like, if they screw up even a little bit, I'm gonna be all over their ass. Like, I just do not have patience for somebody who is not even going to give half of the party that they're intending to vote for them any kind of time of day, like
well, I really wanted this election to be Joe Biden gets to be president. He's run in 5 decades now. Let's give him 6 decades now because we're in the 2020s. Let's give him the presidency. He's earned it. He's done the work. Step down after 4 years and you'll make me very happy. But I also wanted it to be give somebody with less experience a chance to be VP and be there to replace you in 2024.
Yeah.
I cannot do that now because I will not vote for Kamala Harris for president because to me, the issues for which she is softest are the most important issues.
Yeah.
We can do Medicare for all. If you're using Medicare for all to patch up people of color who are getting shot by police, still willy-nilly without any consequences,
right?
Then it's not worth it to me. And the Green New Deal is fantastic, and we should absolutely do that. But if you don't really care about working class people and getting them back to work, then I don't really care about that. And
right.
So I am fine with this being the center middle that we can take the election. This is the one that gets 54% in swing states. Even a woman of color might help Joe Biden take Texas. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Georgia, who almost voted for Stacey Abrams, might vote for this instead of Trump. I get that. Bernie is going to be a horse race where everybody's just going to stay home. I don't like Trump, but I'm not going to vote for Bernie, so I'm going to stay home. And I get that.
I mean, I'm not. I personally am not a progressive Democrat.
Yes.
There are parts of the ideals of the progressive Democrats, though, that I really enjoy because the more left-leaning aspect of me wants the things that I want badly. Like, I want there to be equal rights amongst everyone, regardless of any kind of difference between us. I want everyone to be treated exactly the same under the color of law and just in general. Like, there should be no delineation between how we treat each other. And, if you want real change in that regard, the only people to look at are the progressive side of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
They are the only ones who are going far enough on those issues to make a substantial difference. I would not want to necessarily align all my political beliefs with the far left fringe of the Democratic Party, but I am willing to go with them on certain things because I think that they're right and they just know how to do. Like, it's just not even that I think that progressives are smarter or that they have better ideas or anything like that. I just think,
but
well, I mean, like, I just feel like when AOC speaks or when Bernie speaks or when somebody like that speaks, they're coming from a lot of logic.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's wrong. Here's how we can fix it. Sometimes they say things that are, like interesting ideas, but also completely ridiculous on face. Like Bernie had the plan, like, billionaires made an extra $60 billion during coronavirus while everybody was making no money. We should tax every $1 billion that they made to help pay for all the things.
You call that crazy. I call that creating a functioning republic.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why it works is because everyone can understand how that would benefit people, how like you can Robin Hood a situation here where we take care of the poor, but you also have to realize that if you do this, like there's a certain balance that California specifically has been dealing with for a long time, which is how hard can we push people before they just fucking leave?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of California people who just go to Texas and
they're going to leave the U.S. though.
There's people who will at a certain point leave the U.S. if it becomes too problematic to
let them go.
maintain.
Let them go.
No, I'm not.
And then we're going to tax the crap out of their companies, and then capital gains will become. You have to follow those here.
I was for the taxing of the companies before. I'm just saying, like you can't, just because you happen to own an internet-based business and you are the ones who are able to succeed when others, fail by no fault of your own or by no cause of your own. Like, I understand why Amazon is making more money now than they were pre-pandemic.
See,
but I'm saying
the problem I have though is
if Amazon was taxed properly at any point prior to the pandemic, then maybe we'd have more money for the things that we're looking. I hate to say that we have to tax success just because they're the only ones who are being successful in a time where everyone else is failing.
See, and you're looking at it at Amazon though, but his proposal wasn't Amazon.
Oh, no,
it was taxing the personal wealth that had been gained by people.
I get it. I'm saying, like we will have it. I understand where he's coming from with that point. I just don't agree with it on that level, you know?
Because you are
I like the idea of it. I don't like the execution of it.
You are a temporarily broke and embarrassed billionaire, and eventually you'll be back to that billionaire status.
Yeah.
And you don't want taxes on them now because they'll put taxes on you later.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm thinking about the billions I currently have stored away that I've made during this.
I mean, I think logically, though, we both lean on the fact that
I've sold a lot of screenplays. That's all I'm going to say.
we both lean on the fact of having the knowledge that progressives just start negotiating further left.
Yeah.
The problem with this centralist nonsense is that we'll eventually end up farther to the right just because the compromise starts from the middle.
Well,
Bernie starts from a crazy left position, and maybe we get something progressive as a compromise. So
McConnell, the Democrats decide in the room what they want, and it's all the way to the left. And then the Republicans come out publicly and say what they want. It's all the way to the right.
Yeah.
Right? With Democrats want 0, Republicans want 100, right? And the Democrats are holding on their 0 behind closed doors, but then the Republicans went out on TV and said 100.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, well, we're not going to be able to get 0.
That's what we call negotiating against
yourself.
yourself.
We're going to call them and say that we're going to start at 50, and then we end up at 75 rather than starting the negotiation at 0
Yes.
where it should be and making them come to us. Like,
at least some.
Yeah.
You're negotiating against yourself. You're
Yeah.
saying we're not going to get this, so let's loosen our position to try and get something.
Right.
But you
do
have
something.
control
Go
of half
out.
of it.
Go out and tell people like what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, Senate Republicans do not look good for going home in the middle of the pandemic while there's a large concern over where a huge swath of Americans are going to get money to survive for the next couple months. Like,
By the way, the irony of this is that if Trump likes the bill that the Democrats put out of Congress, which he won't, but if he did, he could choose to sign it pending Senate approval and then just start because it's money, because it's a payment of money and
Right.
it has to be approved by the House, really. Senate is looking for advice and consent.
Yeah.
He could sign it and be like, well, when the Senate comes back, they'll vote on it. If they don't like it, they can stop what we're doing. He could sign the bill, and then we just start spending the money.
Yeah.
He won't, because it'll give Nancy Pelosi a win, and heaven forbid that's not going to happen.
Right.
But the good news is,
well, he's not doing anything wrong, so I don't know why he needs to give Nancy Pelosi a win. I mean,
when and if we do get Joe Biden, hopefully in the White House, we'll have, God help us, Real Politics is actually estimating a win in the House, a win in the Senate. So it might be a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, Democrat presidency, a sweep all the way through. But that is taking into some things about if it's this close between Mitch and his competitor this late, it's problematic for Mitch. And it's only going to get worse for him as we go along because he does stuff like send everybody home for recess in a pandemic, and that's not going to help him. But anyway, where we started, this is the ticket. Like it or not, like I said, sometimes the medicine don't taste good, and you just got to swallow it anyway and wait 4 years and hope that you get something better, I guess.
and then speaking of the election, Trump, any weird bit of political thinkery here.
He's
decided-
he's 10 moves ahead of you, Corey. You don't know
decided
where
to
this is
go
going.
onto Fox News and admit that he's holding up post office funding because he doesn't want the Democrats to be able to get the mail-in voting that will be so corrupt. But the part that bothers me the most is that if I went on television, if I had a press conference, right, and invited all the news stations, and I went out and on a lectern, and I was like, "Hey, I have a plan to take away people's mail before it gets to them." Like, I'm not going to tell you exactly the means by which I do it, but you know, maybe I'll come up on a mail truck while they're delivering the mail, and I'll steal out a couple cartons, and I'll just run down the street with them, and I'm in the mail burglar now, you know?
Yeah.
But I plan on fucking with the mail. You know who comes to visit me?
Secret Service?
Secret Service.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of the mail? And they go, you realize that fucking with the mail is a crime, and I'm like, what? And then I would get arrested, and I would spend time in jail, even if I didn't fuck with the mail. I'm pretty sure that just stating intent to mess with the operation of the post.
If someone saw you with a cherry bomb and a match at a mailbox, I think that is a substantial enough step for them to be like, oh, he's about to fuck with the mail.
He's taking a discernible step towards fucking with the mail.
Yeah, and even if you're like, hey, I was going to drop it by the mailbox, I
Yeah.
was going to put it in the UPS box, not the blue box.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Substantial step towards damaging the mail.
I just don't get how I could be arrested for that sort of thing. And Trump is going out and admitting to impeding the ability for the Postal Service to do their job. And it's like, like, oh, it's just a hard line negotiation. Like, no.
Here's the difference.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
If your boss came out and said, I'm going to give 10% of the people here a raise, and I'm going to fire 20% of you. And then eventually he just gives everybody a 1% raise, and you feel lucky because could have been part of the 20% that was fired.
Yeah.
You only got 1%. He's allowed to do that because he's the boss.
Yeah.
So he's allowed to do that because he's the boss. But the problem with being the boss is that usually in a corporation, there is somebody like the shareholders who are going to be like, we don't want to terrify everybody who works here. That's how we lose good people.
Yeah.
And they fire the boss. And Trump apparently thinks he works at, Trump, where he's the boss and there's no shareholders. So, and he forgets that there's 300 million shareholders.
I mean, so I'm not saying that the USPS is the greatest run organization in the history of the world, but it is.
Doesn't have to be. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, but it is protected by the Constitution. It is a cornerstone by which our entire government runs, not just for delivering mail and ballots and stuff like that, but also getting medication to people from the VA or Social Security checks or any number of things that are very important to people who vote, like veterans and seniors.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we've gotten to this problem, like, so people are just like, the post office loses so much money. The Army doesn't lose so much money. We allocate resources towards it. Where the USPS got fucked was in 2006. Mm-hmm. They voted to say that they had to have 75 years worth of pensions available. And then immediately...
Wait. Let's pretend... Oh, you said voted. Let's be clear about who voted that.
Oh, it was the House and the Senate.
Yes, which were held by what party at the time?
The Republicans.
Absolutely right. Okay, yes. Republicans voted.
Because there was a desire to privatize the post office.
Yes.
So to make it look like the post office is doing really bad,
yes, they
make them pay for the pensions up front for a long period of time.
For people who may never take a pension from the post office.
Right.
Yeah.
And that immediately put them in $120 billion worth of debt, which is most of where we are right now.
Yep.
And they also set the price of postage. So it's not like the USPS could be like, wow, this is a real kick in the nuts. So people are going to be upset when they have to pay $1.20 to send a letter.
Yep.
No, you can't raise postage like that. You can't go crazy. So
now, if it was a business, if it was run like a business, then yes, they would say, all right, we need to come up with $120 billion. Here's how we're going to do it.
Well, I mean, that's what Uber and Lyft are doing right now. I mean, like California just upheld that all people who drive for Uber and Lyft are employees and have to be treated as such. And that's going to go into effect in like the beginning of September, I think, officially. And you're getting a lot of things from Uber and Lyft saying like, oh, we're not going to be able to operate in California. If you...
Yeah, I've gotten 3 push notifications now saying you better call your congressman because or your state legislatures.
Yeah, because your Uber is about to cost $50 just to get from Hollywood to downtown.
Well, Lyfts we are not going to operate in California anymore.
Oh, really? They're just done?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, call somebody because, you have a 15% off coupon. Better use it now because we're not going to operate after September 1st.
Right.
So yeah, that way. But here's the thing: the post office was never intended to operate at a profit.
Yeah.
It is a service.
Right.
Now, Corey can comprehend this. What he doesn't comprehend is that Amtrak is also a service, and it's not meant to operate at a profit. But I'm not going to go down the whole Amtrak road again because we have a whole episode back in the catalog where you can do that. But
go ahead and find it. I'm sure it's illuminating.
The point is that okay. So here's the most illuminating thing I can say. If you go to UPS or FedEx and you say, I want to send a postcard from here to my parents who live in rural Maryland.
Yeah.
So if I go to the post office, USPS, that will cost me 35 cents to send a postcard from here to rural Maryland.
Yeah.
If I use any other service, what they say is, okay, it is a non-box. Anything non-box is the same qualification. Mm-hmm. Less than a pound. Everything less than a pound. 16 ounces is the same qualification. And you're crossing 4 zones. That is a charge.
Yep.
And it's going to a rural delivery. That's a charge.
Yeah.
to send a postcard to my parents is $4.40.
Yeah.
FedEx or UPS, same amount. The post office does it for 35 cents.
Yeah.
So the whole point is that if let's just say that FedEx is setting their price by the market, UPS is the same, I assume that's the market cost. The post office is doing it at 900% below market cost.
Yes, but you also have to factor in that there's a lot of costs associated with running a business that factor into that cost that the USPS would not have to worry about.
Like what?
For instance, they pay their CEOs $20 million a year, and their shareholders expect a certain amount of profit every single quarter. And if they can't show operating benefits to doing something, then they get penalized by the New York Stock Exchange. There's a lot of like being a business versus being a public entity. There are things you don't have to worry about if you're one as opposed to the other. But to hypothetically, if UPS or FedEx wanted to operate the same as the USPS, where their CEO took a nominal amount, if their postmaster general took a nominal amount every year, then they could do it for half the cost they currently do.
Maybe.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm sure there would be certain things that would just cost more just no matter what you do. Like, to get to a rural house is going to take a little bit more.
Always going to be a charge. Yeah. Crossing 4 zones, always going to be a charge.
Right.
So,
but, if you're not padding in what you have to do to make, the stock market happy, then you're changing things up a lot. But
let's say it's $2.20 though.
But, they're also not legally required to make sure that they have money for people's pensions in already put aside. So, that might defer the cost. That's something huge that no other organization, the Army doesn't have their pensions funded for 75 years in the future.
By the way, an Army pension is guaranteed after 4 years of service. A post office pension is guaranteed after 20 years of service.
Yeah.
So literally, you could, and actually, I want to say the Army's dropped theirs. I think it's a 3-year thing now. If you go in for 3 years, you're guaranteed at least a portion of a pension.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, or if not, VA benefits, which, by the way, are not the Army. They're paid for by somebody else. But the post office has to have the retirement benefits include health care.
Yeah.
That is provided by them. And most importantly, we can bomb third world countries for trillions of dollars over the last decade.
Yeah.
And nobody says, hey, why isn't the Army turning a profit? But because we understand it's part of the U.S. government. It's not meant to, it's providing a service, not producing a profit.
There is one thing I would like to say, though, and this is not a defense of Trump or any of his nonsense.
Oh God, here we go.
No, I'm saying there was a lot of social media this weekend about, they're taking away this mailbox at the end of my block. Mm-hmm. They're getting rid of the high volume sorting machines at these different locations and stuff like that. Just because Trump said something on Saturday or Sunday does not mean that following week they're pulling the boxes and stuff like that. So. There was a plan to take out, as there is almost every year with USPS, there is a plan to take out like low circulation boxes every once in a while and redistribute them to places where they make more benefit and, to replace machines or get rid of them. None of them look good because you just said this thing this week. It's very noticeable when someone sees a post office box getting ripped out of the ground.
Yeah.
Like 2 days after Trump says something on Fox News, admits his whole evil plan on Fox News.
Yeah.
It's not related, but it's not good. It's like this is not the time for this to happen, but it was planned way before Trump decided to shoot off the cuff on.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to say my last point is that you guys do you have a portal that you can pay on for your rent?
Yeah.
Okay. So I also have a drop box at my building. And I have a drop box because someone lives in the building who works for the company. It's not a requirement. I've talked to him. He just likes the building and he wants to live there. If he moves, I then have to mail my rent check to Texas, where the company who owns my building is centered.
Yeah.
Given this rule, let's just say at cost, it's $220. That means my rent goes up by $220, which seems negligible. But now I'm adding on the electric bill, which I have to send somewhere in LA, and a water bill where I have to send to the same office, but not on the same payment for some reason.
Well, not only that, but you have to factor in that, you're going to have to send it sooner.
Yes, to make sure it gets there.
Yeah. And
now my whole budget's screwed up.
And you can do the thing where you say, well, the check will not get there for a week, so I don't need to have all the money ahead of time before I write the physical check.
That's a crime,
But that's
Corey.
where people get in trouble.
And that's a crime. If you write a check that you don't have the funds to clear it the moment you sign it, that is passing a bad check. That's a crime. Corey just learned he's a felon. That's the face of someone who learned he's a felon.
No, I haven't done that, so I'm glad I haven't.
Never in your life?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, I'm not going to speak on whether I've ever done that before.
I'd rather not have the evidence.
No, because I've had landlords who lived. I had a landlord when I was living in Denton, Maryland, who lived in Montana.
Yeah.
But he used to live in Maryland. He bought an investment property and then he moved. And it's like, all right, so I got to mail my check to rural Montana. And his thing was, I want it by the 3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take the USPS to get it there? Which is, by the way, one of the reasons it's cheap, because you want to guarantee you got to pay more. Okay. Well, all right, I'm just going to mail it on the 25th.
Yeah.
It should get there by the 3rd. Okay. It's everything becomes more expensive when you don't have reliable mail. And by the way, the mail could provide cheap overnight.
These concerns, the do I have enough money in my checking account to cover the check that I'm about to write, are concerns that are held by people who are living paycheck to paycheck, people who are like us who do not have a lot of disposable income.
Yep.
Like, that not everybody, like talking about the not having the money in the account when you write the check, a crime, but also something that I imagine many people do on rent every single week. This check is my rent is due on Friday, but if I drop it off at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to deposit it till Monday, and the check that I get this weekend is going to help pay for my rent.
It'll clear by Monday.
Yeah, it'll be all good. Like that's Mitch McConnell doesn't worry about this.
I was going to say, who doesn't have this problem? The Postmaster General, Steve Mnuchin at Treasury, Mitch McConnell, Trump, they don't have this problem. So it's not our problem, or it shouldn't be our problem. They should deal with it. And that seems to be the order of the day, because no matter what, it seems like that is kind of how everyone in government is taking everything. I did want to mention just offhand, stimulus checks went out 126 days ago. And if you divided the money that you got in that stimulus check, it would break down to, you cleared it out. No, it's at the top now. $7.50 per day. So thanks, guys. By the way,
I was able to buy a small McDonald's lunch every day for the last
and unemployment expired, so I hope you saved it, because you're going to need it for rent this month.
Not at all.
Unemployment.
Not at all.
Yeah. But more importantly, I think in going to COVID news, not just getting another a stimulus, which, by the way, New Zealand also announced they're going to move their election by 1 month.
Yeah.
They have also been giving a stipend to every citizen to help them stay at home and not have to worry about going to work. People have chosen to go to work and basically said, hey, listen, I'm going to let all my employees stay at home, but I'm going to go into work. I'm going to keep the office operating. You can work remotely. And if you work 3 days a week, we'll pay you for 3 days a week. And then you qualify for unemployment for the 2 days you don't, which is not how it works in America.
Right.
It's either all or nothing. That's how we run. So basically, I want to move to New Zealand. That's essentially what I'm saying. But in other COVID news, 2 of the vaccines are moving into 3rd round human trials.
Yes.
Excellent news. That means we're actually on track to have a vaccine ready by January. Except that may not happen. And it may not happen because not efficacy, not whether or not it's a good vaccine, but because people of color are not signing up for the 3rd round human trial. And one of the rules under the FDA is that your demographic for your 3rd round human trial has to essentially match the demographics of the country. And the picture that I have up next to me here, you're probably wondering, this looks like an old picture. Why would you post this about a story from this week? This is why people of color are not signing up for a vaccine trial. Because this is a photo from the Tuskegee experiment, where the U.S. government gave a bunch of men syphilis and then tried to find a cure for syphilis by giving them different shots of different things and tracking them over the course of time. This damaged a large population of men, black men in particular. And so now you, who may be a 20-year-old person of color, is thinking, I'd really like to do the right thing. I would like to stand up. I would like my family to be proud of me. I would like to be a solid citizen and volunteer for the 3rd round human trial vaccine. Anybody who wouldn't want to do this is clearly just a coward. And then your grandfather tunes in and he says, boy, listen one moment here. I did this one time. What, they tell you they're going to pay you like $40 for it? Same thing. I got $40. They gave me syphilis. And then for 100 or, for 60 years, they experimented on me. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And now you say, I want to do the right thing, but also
I don't want this to happen to me.
Don't want to be grandpa. I don't want to be experimented on for 40 years. And also, Latinos are not signing up. Generally, black and brown people are people who are not signing up. And that is because there's apparently a rumor that they will check your immigration status if you sign up for the vaccine. And of course, some people who might be willing to sign up are citizens, but their parents aren't. And if you look into me and you find out my parents are here illegally, am I risking their lives? You sending them home by me coming out? Or maybe somebody who is a DACA recipient, which has no safety in the Trump administration, doesn't want to come forward because they were brought here as a child when they were 2, and now...
I mean, they're sending back, servicemen and women who fought for this country, so...
A guy who did 3 tours in Afghanistan is not safe. Yeah. I've been living in New York City my whole life, and I'm an artist who lives in the village. They'll send me back real quick. I'm not going to go risk that. And of course. So in the end result is we may be held up on a vaccine in the U.S., not because the science isn't there, but because the FDA won't get final approval because the third round human studies don't match demographics of the country. And we can't say that it's safe for people of color, who are, by the way, being impacted by the virus far more than other groups. It's just a sad set of events, and it all just brings me back to Germany in the mid-20s when fascism was on the rise, and it wasn't just the Nazis. There was a lot of people who were anti-Jew, anti-Slav, anti-anyone who wasn't German. And the Spanish flu had the same outcome. People of those communities wouldn't get the vaccine because they were worried about getting something given to them by a government that was vocally against them.
Yeah.
We essentially have returned to this point, that we are living in a country when the leader of the country says, yes, I'm trying to interfere with the election because this kind of voting benefits the other party, and I don't want them to win. So I'm going to just interfere with it any way that I can. Brian Kemp did it in Georgia. He seemed to be doing pretty well with that. I'm just going to do it on the national level. This is fascism. This is how fascism starts. It is along the scale of our slide to fascism. So welcome, everyone.
Welcome to fascism.
Yes, unfortunately.
We have cake.
And I guess in other coronavirus news, even though it's more Trump than it is coronavirus, and really a story I want to make sure we just touch on because we've only started finding out what this is about.
Right.
Mike Lindell. Do you know that name, Corey? Do you know who Mike Lindell is?
The My Pillow guy.
He's the skeleton who's holding a pillow on some late night advertisements. Here, you guys. You can see him. He's right here. Mike Lindell. Also personal friend of the president. One of the few CEOs who stayed loyal to the president. So he's a personal friend. Last week, he and HUD Secretary Ben Carson, who I used to respect as a physician, as a politician.
Yeah.
I believe I spoke into these mics and said, I might vote for Ben Carson. It's time we get a scientist, a man of science, into the White House. Until
you heard about all of his science.
Yeah. So apparently they walked in and said, hey, there's this new extract, Olendantor, which is based on the oleander plant. And it's showing good signs of being a good treatment for coronavirus. So Trump, of course, immediately tweets out something about oleander. Turns out that this extract has been tried to get FDA approval for something else, was marked as unsafe for human use, and then rejected. But wouldn't you know, Mike Lindell has a financial stake in the company that's producing it. So he had a financial stake in a company that was about to take a huge L, and then he called his buddy or went to see his buddy Trump, and now that might turn into a huge W.
Now you're gonna tell me that the Postmaster General who Trump appointed has also got ties to things that are not the post office.
Funny story. He was a really big he donated a lot of money to Trump, and now he's Postmaster General. Yeah. So it's a developing story. We'll see what happens, but in the end, it's just like this is a weird place to be in, because when you see a government slip towards being for sale, they generally don't also slip toward fascism at the same time, because it's like, well, either we're just going to be for sale to the highest bidder, and then you risk, I don't know, Soros coming in and buying up government power.
Right.
By the way, he's not trying to take over the government. That was a joke. Or it's fascism, where it's like, we are just going to
Don't
shut
say it
everybody
too
down.
loud, or else the QAnon people will show up and
Honestly, listen.
they got thoughts.
If QAnon, this is what I'm going to tell you. There are 4 episodes where we have given away the very secrets of Pizzagate, Obamagate. You're just going to have to listen to every single episode and find out where
it might be in hidden code, though. So
listen closely and multiple times across all places where it's available. In fact,
because it's different. If you don't, people don't know this, but it's slightly different.
Yeah,
the
sometimes
YouTube and the podcast version are slightly different. So
sometimes Spotify won't let us upload to Anchor with the secrets involved, so we have to upload the special one with the secrets to YouTube. And sometimes, the
YouTube
Google,
gets onto our tricks. And,
they do, so we have to switch it up and load it somewhere else.
It's on Facebook instead.
The only safe way is to listen to 321 episodes on both platforms multiple times to figure out when we gave away the secrets.
Go at it, Sluice.
Okay. So other Trump stuff, I just kind of want to skip through that. We mentioned that he wants to keep this incredible thing going earlier. I can't. I just honestly, and
the lack of insight is breathtaking.
Just out of touch. And he's so anti. We talked about the Postal Service. He's anti-Postal Service because he doesn't like mail-in ballots. But if you ordered an absentee ballot in North Carolina or Pennsylvania, you received one with Trump's face on it. And you might say to yourself, what's the difference between an absentee ballot and a mail-in ballot? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. One is you saying, essentially under oath, I won't be in the district on Election Day, so I'd like to vote in absentia ahead of time.
Right.
The other is saying,
I'm going to be in London during the election because I have a big job going on in London, so I need to vote by mail.
I mean, in the end, I think I voted in absentia one year when I was working in Columbia, Maryland, and I lived on the Eastern Shore. And I said, I leave at 7 a.m. and I return at 7 p.m. Polls are open 7 to 7.
Yeah.
So there is no way I can vote. I need to vote in absentia for this election because they will give me time off from work, but I can't get home to vote and go back to work during that time.
Right.
So I need an absentee ballot. A mail-in ballot is saying, I won't be absent from the district. I just don't want to go vote in person. So the result of both is you fill out a form with certain things at the bottom,
with
like
choices,
your social security
elections,
number. Even more, your social security number and your voter ID number, which is on your voter's card, and a bunch of other personal information. And then you mail it. The only difference is the reason for not being there. Either I'm there and I don't want to vote. I'm not going to be able to vote in person, or I am going to be there, but I don't want to vote in person.
What constantly amazes me about this whole thing is that Trump should want more people voting, I would think.
I mean, as the president, yes, he should want that. As a shill who has fooled us all thus far along, he doesn't want that.
But I'm saying, it's amazing that, never in the there have been people along the rungs of politics who have made some sort of I'm gonna Brian Kemp, I'm gonna shut down polling places, or I'm gonna take you off the rolls, or stuff like that. Like, those were all very on the nose tricks that were being played on people who were supposed to be voting in those elections, right?
And very directed, by the way. Just like, hey, black people, you're likely to be taken off the rolls, so I'm going to take you off the rolls.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, there wasn't Brian Kemp on Fox News saying well, there's a lot of problematic voters that I wanted to get off the rolls. He would find some sort of way of going well, none of these people who were eliminated from the rolls have voted in the last 10 elections, and we just assumed that many of these things, these people either move or they're part of a new, they might be on the roll of a different county. Yeah. So, it's not like we're eliminating somebody's ability to vote. We're just cutting them out of the roll of this particular county where they clearly don't vote anymore.
Yeah.
And you can argue that is full of bullshit. That's a
it
bullshit response. But
But-
at the very least, he's trying to make up with some sort of excuse as to why he is not impeding people's ability to vote.
He's covering his tracks, at
Yeah.
least. He's not being bold about the fact.
No. He's trying to figure out a way to make it seem like he wants people to vote without without allowing them to vote. So it's amazing.
It's really bold to just be like, listen, we're sending out mail-in ballots to people with white-sounding names. It's just the other people that don't get them.
Could you imagine, like, just like I don't know, Bill Clinton, right? Like if he had a Rose Garden address, right?
Yeah.
He's just like a lot of Americans are thinking about buying cars. I say go buy the Japanese ones because they're just better than the American ones right now. It's like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Even though American cars were pieces of crap at the time, like you would just see Bill Clinton go like, it's important that we,
Buy American.
buy American automobiles because it's important
Yeah.
to our economy and the people who work here, and we can't give in to the Japanese and blah blah blah.
By the way, can you imagine if Barack Obama had said, I'm going to start taking people off voting rolls.
Yeah.
I'm going to block the mail so that
oh
people
god,
can't
Fox
vote.
News would never.
There would be gunfire in the streets.
It would. They would have a thing like at the end of Ghostbusters, like the like the Broadway studio of Fox News would just erupt with like a green chasm of smoke out the top.
And Fox News banner would just read, "The time is now. Take to the streets," and it would just be like the purge siren going off. That's all that they would cover. It would just be that.
It wouldn't just be the purge siren. It would be Alex Jones just screaming into the microphone in the form of a purge siren. It's happening now. The frogs have come to life. Ah! Ah! Purge is now. Ah!
Helter skelter! It's a race war. Let's do this.
Did you see him yelling at people at the park? By the way, there was like,
oh God, no!
he went to like some park in Austin where they like there's just like 10 kids who work for the parks department or something like that who are like raking leaves or some shit, and he's just like, you're part of a government queue, and people are just like, who is this drunk man who's yelling at him?
Bro,
it's just like, I'm taking over the means of operation for this thing.
I need a summer job.
Losing.
This pays $22 an hour, man. It's a government job. Come on.
You realize they're eating your brain from the inside. It's like, who?
But like, honestly, man, I smoke a lot of pot. Seems like you do too. Could be worse. I'm just saying, it could get worse.
How come all the pot I buy ends with an EOD?
All right. So we do have one other topic section to talk about this week, and that's, of course, sports ball. So
those dulcet tones.
I know it always seems like it's been so long since we had it. I'm gonna let you wax poetic on this, though. Go ahead.
I don't know how much waxing poetic is going to happen here per se, but I will say this: the Orioles are surprising me in ways. They also lose games in ways that shock and amaze me. But when they win games, I'm feeling very confident about this team. Specifically, the fact that we swept the Nationals and we swept the Phillies on the road for both of those, which was lovely. And, yes, we lose the Yankees. I think we lost to the Blue Jays tonight. But there seems to be that sort of magic that happened in like the 2012 season where we were winning all those one-run games and just one thing after another.
7-1, bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
Woo, man. That
So-
one got out of hand.
Something tells me this one isn't going to make the comeback.
No, probably not.
You never know, though. So you make the magic happen. So as I've been told.
You make the magic happen.
But the expanded playoff format has gotten me thinking. We talked about this a little bit before the season started, obviously in jest a little bit. But right now, the Orioles would be in place to make the wild card at this moment. We wouldn't have to face the Yankees. If the playoffs ended as they are right now, we wouldn't have to play the Yankees until the ALCS, which seems to be our biggest.
They put up one more. 7-2 was the final.
So close.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Yankees seem like they would be the biggest impediment to us getting to the World Series because
a
they're the
juggernaut.
best team in the AL.
Juggernaut.
And obviously to win the World Series, we'd have to get through a lot of great teams. And not to say that any of the 6 teams that would be ahead of us in the playoff standings right now are chumps or anything like that. They're all very talented teams. But more than anything else, we're 1/3 of the way through this marathon season. The Orioles are in a playoff spot as of this moment. Our 4 best hitters, Severino, Nunez, Santander, and Hanser Alberto, are doing just as well as Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, and Corey Seager of the Dodgers, who are the best team in the majors right now.
Yeah.
I just don't it's not that I think that the Orioles are going to win the World Series, but it seems like an argument could be made that stranger things have happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think also an important fact, 0 positive tests for the Orioles. And the Yankees have had positive tests, I think, at this point. Phillies have, Nationals have.
the Yankees were going to play the Phillies.
Oh, that's right. They
Yeah,
didn't.
they didn't
play.
yeah.
Yeah, because
But I mean,
somebody
like,
else did.
right now, the Cardinals just came back to play for the first time in 2.5 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
They were their record was 4-2 or whatever. They had only played 6 games. Everyone else was close to 20.
Yep.
So they're going to have to play double headers a lot for the rest of the season to try and make this up.
And that's tough.
That's tough. That's tough
Very
to
tough.
overcome. And maybe you don't play as many games as another team does, and the Cardinals just end up playing 50 games instead of 60. And what's your winning percentage, and yada yada yada. Like, there's no promises even that if we got to the ALCS that the Yankees don't get sick then or something like that, or that some sort of weird occurrence happens that just keeps working in the Orioles' favor for whatever reason. And, I'm sure people will say, like, asterisk, the Orioles were supposed to be terrible this year and they won, and this is just proof of all that and stuff like that. Whatever.
That's fine.
I don't care. Yeah, they can say that all they want.
I will take the ring, whether or not there's an asterisk. It's fine.
I mean, the Astros still have their ring, so I mean, like,
Yeah.
if
And I was going to say,
we're going to be okay with that, I think we should be okay with the 60-game sprint World Series as well.
How about this? They played about 60 games honestly. So we played 60 games honestly. They did. We both get a ring. It's fine.
You could tell that we weren't banging on our trash cans because there was no crowd to cover up that noise.
But I got to say, so I watched my first game when I was here over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I said that they're pumping in some low, or you told me they're pumping in some low crowd noise, but it is disturbing just to watch the game because there's just, no matter what happens, there's no reaction. It's that same low murmur.
What bothers me the most, so in all my life of watching baseball, I could listen to the announcer announce and then know when to raise my head based off the reaction of the crowd.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, I could be like, typing away at something, and all of a sudden I hear like, and it's like right before, Gary Thorne or Jim Palmer would say like, oh, there it goes. Like,
Yeah.
I would just know like, oh, something's about to happen. I look up, and then I would see the, ball flying through the air, go over the stands and stuff like that. But, now with the guy on the trigger with the crowd reactions, like, it's not quite the same thing.
It's the same as Gary Thorne's reaction.
I get lulled into like nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden I hear the announcer going crazy, and I look up and it's too late, But it's a weird season. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying.
Happy for baseball.
Happy for baseball. The Orioles currently,
Yes.
at MGM as of this morning, I checked it, are 15,000 to win the World Series. It's big money, but for a team that currently has a playoff spot locked up.
Well, and I was going to ask you, is that better or worse than we were when it started? I felt like it was higher when we started the season.
I don't know. I couldn't find the same. I couldn't figure out where we had pulled up the odds from before.
QAnon,
So-
let us know. Where were we getting the odds?
Listen to those
50
episodes, the last
ago.
10 episodes or so. We
Yeah.
covered it somewhere in there. Just
Work your way back from here
just-
backwards.
Every episode multiple times though. It doesn't
Yeah.
work unless you listen multiple times.
Yeah.
That's when the magic happens.
And in fact, there's a secret. You have to play them both at the same time, and then when it overlaps, that's where you hear the magic.
Well, also I not to not to give away too much of the secret sauce, but
yeah.
Not only do you have to listen to it multiple times, but you have to share it every time you listen to it, or else it doesn't unlock.
That's true. Yeah. So listen through a full time.
Because once you share it 100 times or so, then new stuff starts coming into
all
the videos.
Secret
That's
sauce.
how
Yeah.
people don't. Rob is a very this relationship with YouTube. So we get the secret stuff.
The secret bonuses.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, where do we get off?
We draw too many people in.
You don't know where we pulled the odds.
I don't know where we pulled the odds.
Just a bookie site.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure though that if I remember correctly, it was still a high number. It was probably a higher number than this, but we haven't really gotten that much of a discount off of what the original take was before the season, and it's a third of the way through the season, and it's still 15,000. So the way it would work for people who don't gamble, if I went to Vegas right now and I wanted to win $15,000 on the Orioles in this hypothetical, I would bet $100. Mm-hmm. So $100 would net $15,100.
Yeah.
The original bet plus $15,000.
So that means $1,000 bet gets you
$150,000.
$151,000.
Well, yeah. I mean, you get your bet back.
Yeah.
And you could keep going up the line. The 10,000 is $1.5 million. And
that's why I feel like the odds were better, because I feel like we were at $1,000 was going to pay $150,000. Like maybe it was.
Or maybe it was like closer to $1 million or something like that.
We were getting closer to it was like a reasonable bet would get you $1 million.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was better, but
also,
still,
I mean,
that's a bookie site versus MGM,
right?
Which will take any crazy bet, and the bookie sites I feel like sometimes are going to be like, look, we put the odds up. It's not to put a bet on. You're not going to be able to put a bet on this.
But I'm saying, like, if the Orioles for whatever reason went crazy and ended up winning the World Series, you would feel dumb for not taking those 15,000 odds when you still had them a third of the way through the season. Like,
when are you driving to Vegas to put the odds down?
You want to go halvesies? Wait, is that a crime?
I don't think so. Right? No.
I'll just bet it myself, and I'll I'll invest into a business or something
it's
like
like
that.
the lotto. You can pool.
Oh yeah, I guess you
pool.
can. Yeah. All right, we'll look into it.
And by the way, because we can get a suite in Vegas for a couple of days for like $500, so that's really nice.
Man, I feel so bad for Vegas.
I feel bad for Vegas.
I do. I mean, like, it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people who are trying to take every single dollar they can out of us. But the idea that in 1 month, like a year over year, this month last year to this month this year was a 71% decrease in business in Vegas. That's fucking huge.
Yeah.
I was joking around about Disney a little bit earlier. They still made billions of dollars this quarter. Like, it wasn't nearly as many billions of dollars as they wanted to, but they made billions of dollars this quarter. MGM, or like, the casinos and stuff like that, I think the number was like $1.5 million a day. Every day that the casino is closed.
Oh, that was closed. Yeah.
Yeah. So during the shutdown, when it was closed for a month and a half, you're talking about, $45 million in just fucking gone revenue.
Wait,
like,
is there a Paramount decree that applies to casinos? That's my question.
Not yet.
All right, because listen.
I mean, you can get on it, I guess.
No, because Camelot would probably be up for sale, and Disney may have a thing or two to say about that.
Excalibur?
Excalibur, yes. Excalibur. Might be for sale, and Disney's like, you want to live that Cinderella lifestyle? Do it for real.
Usually give the Cinderella's castle away to like needy kids and stuff like that. Well, if you ever wanted to purchase it, we got it in Vegas.
Or Universal. Universal could do it. They buy Circus. It's already basically there. You make it a little darker, and it's
scary enough as it is. I mean, you just need to change the clown to Pennywise, and you're there. I mean, it's not really that.
And Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That's basically, I think it's a Universal property too. Buy up Mirage. Now it's the Forgetting Sarah Marshall Hotel. That's like a big IP, right? That's something you'd want to do.
It's like what was going to Universal and seeing the Waterworld show, and I was just like, they spent a lot of money on this thing, and they're just trying to like.
Half the kids here don't even know what this
Why do we
movie
have
is.
a Waterworld experience? It's a great show. It's very enjoyable, but why do we have this here?
Also, the Wynn looks a lot like Stark Towers. Mm-hmm. So you could just buy that if you're Disney and make it like the Avengers Hotel.
Or, I mean, like if we're talking about Universal, why don't they just buy Caesars and they can have like a hangover experience? Somebody gets to stay on the roof.
By the way, we're just giving this out for free.
I know.
Gotta stop. They got to hit us up for these kind of ideas. You got to hire somebody for this.
Fucking Universal's going to sound like a genius tomorrow when they get out.
It's the Hangover
they
experience.
release all these newses.
By the way, the Hangover experience where you spend the night on the roof of the hotel. It doesn't even cost them anything.
I would do it. The problem is I would do it. I would spend more than the average night for the room to do it.
It's a scavenger hunt. Like you wake up the next day, and every time is different. So you could do it multiple times.
Only way you can smoke weed at MGM. At Caesars. So stay in the room on the roof.
Yeah, I'd like the Hangover suite, please. Yeah, they take him to a mattress on the roof. Now keep in mind, you're locked out here for 3 days, so be ready. All right, cool.
For an extra $20,000, we can get the actual Doug to lay next to you in the bed. It's a high roller discount or high roller up.
Listen, he's out of work too. All right, he's got bills to pay. We got to do it.
Poor Doug.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about it. I'm just saying that it's not out of the realm of possibilities that the Orioles could win a World Series, especially if there's a pandemic going on and you don't know.
Here is the ultimate question.
Yeah.
Does Corey Baker fly to Baltimore for a World Series game during a pandemic?
Do they have fans?
Let's say, forgetting that Pickles is open, so you could watch the World Series at Pickles. But let's say they let
or get a Hilton balcony.
Get a Hilton balcony. I mean, honestly, if it starts looking like there might be a World Series, I might just rent a Hilton suite for one of the nights just to be like, fuck it. Well, let's do it.
Just like put it on the. Do the free cancellation.
I was going to say, I think they're doing free cancellation still. So it'd be like, yeah, let's just book it. We're going to put down the $1,500 or whatever it'll probably be, and then just cancel if it doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah.
But does Corey Baker fly back to Baltimore for an Orioles World Series in a pandemic? 5 hours on a plane.
I think I would be more.
That's the guy behind you.
I was talking to Rachel last night about like going home for Christmas or something like that.
Yeah.
I was just like,
it's about that time, right?
Well, I was saying to her, I was like, how would you feel about driving? Because we could just drive and like camp in the car and stuff like that, and then we don't have to deal with anybody, and we can get home and we wouldn't have to like necessarily like quarantine or something like that because we've been just to ourselves the whole time, the whole drive across the country. But that obviously adds a lot more time to it.
I was going to say, then your week at home becomes at least a
month-long journey.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. We took a week to come across. You could do it in 4 days if you just drove to retired and stopped and camped.
Just 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pound it out. But then your first 2 days there are ruined because you're like, all right, I just like to sleep in a bed, please, somewhere.
All I want to do is go to sleep forever.
How about this? You could take Amtrak, private little bunk, and not have to go anywhere.
Listen, what am I, a Rockefeller? I don't got money for that sort of thing.
It's a service.
What do I look like, Jeff Bezos over
We're
here?
not supposed to make money.
I have too much hair to be Bezos.
Nah.
All right. Speaking of too much something to not be Bezos. OhTheAnthem.com. Core to OhTheAnthem.com. With the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line. 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at Corey Baker Filmmaker. This is about the time of the show where I start slurring my words.
Yep.
Do you notice that?
Yeah, the shots are really kicking in. Yeah.
I think it's the oppressive heat that's going on in here.
By the way, heat wave in LA.
Yeah.
And we just had the heat or the AC off for an hour, not 50 minutes. So.
Yeah, you guys are at a certain point. You guys are going to have to get used to listening to the show with air conditioning. CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Roberto, take notes. Look at my 3 TikToks and take notes on them. I'm have the apartment to myself a little bit more this week, so I'm filming a lot of stuff this week. I have some things in the queue here. And looking to do something special on Thursday, so keep an eye out for my stuff on Thursday.
All right, and of course you can find more of me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com where you can find links to the blog and the news website, which actually I got to stop saying that because neither of those things actually exist anymore. You can find links to Rob Explains Everything and the Everyman Movie Review, both on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Rob Cheeks. The only thing that's different. But you can find those links on robertncheek.com, as well as links to the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rob's books.
And we are working on planning out, what do we call it? Dynamic book reading? What is it?
It's like a dynamic book on tape. Yeah,
Dynamic book on tape. Audiobook. Dynamic audiobook.
Yeah.
We got to patent that. DAB. Dynamic audiobook. A DAB.
A dab.
Oh. All right. Anyway, and make sure you do check out the information for the campaign. That's Rob Cheek for Prez on all your social media, and robcheekforpresident.com or cheekforamerica.com. And we got a big announcement coming up this Thursday as well, so make sure you check that out. Every Man Movie Reviews twice a week, every Thursday and one day in between. Even though I'm running for president, somehow I have the time to get 2 reviews up a week. I don't know how. What's that, Corey? You're going to put your first one up in a couple weeks this week?
You're a modern marvel.
That's cool. By the way, it's sleep. Sleep's the answer. You just don't sleep. You just stay up forever. I was up last night matching sound effects to a flashing light. Thanks. Whoever did that. Ugh. Anyway.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
We're getting to the point where the sweat is dripping off the curls in the back of my hair.
I felt one go down into the crack of my ass just a minute ago, and I'm like, oh, it is hot.
Danger Will Robinson. Danger Will Robinson.